voice of the UK, Stephen Nolan, BBC Radio 5 Live.
Hello there, thank you for joining us tonight. 08085 909 693 is our number. Next, the retailer Co-op is urging MPs to make assaulting shop workers a specific criminal offence. It's after incidents of shoplifting and violence in its stores rose by 44% over the past year. The Co-op wants abuse of shop workers to become a specific criminal offence. David Brooke is the manager of a store in Leeds. He says his staff have been threatened on a regular basis.
You'll have people coming in the store, ransacking the shelves, and then threatening you on the way out with a needle, a knife, razors, hammers, anything they can use as a weapon against you, they will. It's horrible because you don't know which way it's going to go, and ultimately if someone stabs you with a needle, the repercussions of that can be completely life-changing, and that's not what we come to work to do. We come to work to serve a community and give good service, and sadly our colleagues are blighted by this daily.
Well, this week, the chairman of Asda, Lord Rose, who has led a string of retail firms, including Marks and Spencer, said authorities just do not take shoplifting seriously. At the age of 13, Farrah McNutt, by her own admission, was addicted to shoplifting. Fast forward to the present day, she's now turned her life around, drawing on her previous experience to advise stores on combating shoplifting. She's with me now. Farrah, good evening.
Hello. Thank you for having me on as well.
Well, it's good to talk to you. How do you, look, if these people are intent in walking in, if the security staff don't want to risk their life because who knows what they have, a knife or whatever, how do you take these people on? What should a store do?
Well, there needs to be a whole security change. So security guards shouldn't be unequipped. What I mean by that is they should always have body cameras. They should have stab-proof vests on. They should be visible, and they should have the proper training as well, which is a higher level of training. So the handcuff training under the 24A of PACE, they can make a citizen's arrest and hold handcuffs. And it's not that much to put them through this sort of training. Now, if you think of it in this way, a security guard is the first responder on the scene. Before the police or anything, the security guard's there. So they need to be able to handle that de-escalation, be able to know to keep an arm's distance away. At any point, a shoplifter can have a knife on them and a needle or anything like this. So I had someone who contacted us out of confidentiality, and he said he's a security guard for a well-known corporate store, and he turned around and said that basically he stopped the shoplifter. They had a little bit of a scuffle, and the shoplifter ended up pinning him down for 10 minutes while they were waiting for the police to arrive. The police did arrive, but when the police arrived, all they did was take the suspect's details and then let the suspect go and called them up to attend the police station. Now, this security guard, he had bruises over his hand, he was bleeding from his head and everything. So, a higher level of protection is needed for the security and the staff themselves as well.
But do you really think, Farrah, the security guard, they'll be on minimum wage, do you really think they should take the risk and intervene if there's a couple of these guys stealing stuff so blazingly and blatantly in a store?
No, absolutely. I don't know. Absolutely. Their life is worth absolutely more than you can put a price on. So, no, I don't think that they should be dealing with all this situation, but they are dealing with it. And if they are dealing with it, then we need to make sure that they're properly equipped and properly trained for it.
But, so what should they do? So let's even say they are trained and they are equipped. Yeah. Do you think they should intervene? Like, how do we take these shop workers, these shoplifters, they're not frightened, are they? You can see from the CCTV that's doing the rounds, these people are not worried about the police getting there on time. They're not worried about being caught.
No, absolutely. And a big thing with Catch a Thief UK, which is set up, which is crime prevention, is to let the suspect go, and we'll catch up with them at a later date. We'll get their name, we will do a public appeal, and we will catch up with them at a later date. We put the suspects together and we match them suspects from incident to incident. So if they go shoplifting in one store, then we can match them from that store to another store as well, no matter what they're shoplifting. I know there's a £200 limit, so we make sure that it hits over that £200 limit. So when it does go to court, it is a higher offence as well. We always say do not intervene. At any point, a shoplifter can have a knife in their pocket. Anyone, and social behaviour as well. People go into the shop and they have mental health problems as well. You know, people ain't trained to deal with this. Not staff members or security guards are not trained to deal with mental health side, and it can take a split second. So we do say don't intervene, but there's times that, you know...
Have we lost control?
At the moment, yes, we have lost control, and I think a lot of suspects are thinking, I'd rather steal from a shop than go and steal from a vulnerable person, an old person, or, you know, because they feel like there's no victims to that. But they don't understand that there is victims, and, you know, staff members don't go to work to be abused physically, verbally, or to be shoplifted from it either.
How much of a difference would it make if these people actually thought they were going to be caught by the police? That if police numbers if the police was resourced so that they had enough numbers, would it make much of a difference to these people? Do they care about getting arrested and caught?
I think it all depends on the type of suspect that you're dealing with. So someone who's doing it, say, because of the cost of living, they're stealing bread, they're stealing milk, they're stealing stuff for dinners for their family. I feel like them sort of people need the help and support, which we do give our members, help and support lists in the area, the food banks, the local shelters if they need it. You know, even social services can help with this sort of, you know, if anyone's hungry or anything, then no one should be going hungry. And most shops as well in the community do actually give to the food banks. And a lot of them, if someone's hungry, they'll go in there and, you know, they will give them the sandwiches that, you know, they still have on display that's about to go out or something like that. You know, it's about knowing why the shoplifter's doing it. So if it's someone that's addicted to, say, a drug or an alcohol or something like this, and they're doing it to monetize from it, to help their addiction, if you like, then no, they're not going to be deterred by police presence. They're going to be deterred if they can't get away with it. And by not, what you need to do to make sure that they're not getting away with it is showing that something is being done, and, you know, it's not an easy target. Right now, shoplifting is an easy target. They're walking into the stores, they're seeing that nothing's being done with CCTV. It has no voice. CCTV's there, and it should be used for evidence. So, really and truly, if the police were doing more and there was more people getting caught for it, then yes, you would see a reduction, but there would still be them suspects that are addicted and that would still stay brazen, and they wouldn't care if they come out in and out of prison, because, you know, they have got an addiction, and there is help and support for that as well. There's an amazing, from West Midlands Police, it's called the Offenders to Rehab Programme, and I was listening to one of the stories from there, and he literally said he was dealing £148,000 worth of goods a year just to fund his habit. And they put him in a £3,000 rehab programme. That £3,000 has stopped him shoplifting now. He said he's seen the passion, and someone actually believed in him. And once they realised that someone believed in him and they could do it, then that's what stopped him doing it as well. And that cost them £3,000. And if you think about that in a massive way, that's £148,000 lost £2,000-3,000 into rehab to help them.
Farrah, stay there for me, if you can. Professor Emmeline Taylor is Professor of Criminology at City University of London. The figure suggests there has been a shocking rise in shoplifting, and I put this to Emmeline.
Yeah, that's right. And also, I mean, the figures that we're seeing published by the police and the Office of National Statistics, I think it's really important to flag are just a drop in the ocean to the tsunami, or, we've heard it described as an epidemic of shoplifting. And that's absolutely true. The British Retail Consortium suggests that there could have been as many as 8 million incidents of shop theft last year. So it's really important to recognise that some of the data we see is actually very conservative estimates. So, yeah, what is going on? I see there's been a whole raft of different issues that have almost sort of coalesced. It's been a perfect storm and have created a really fertile ground for shoplifting to escalate. I think chief amongst the reasons, the causes for this, is that we've had such an overstretched and under-resourced police service throughout austerity, starting in 2010, and, the very well-publicised numbers, 21,000 police officers taken off the streets between 2010 and 2019. Also, the loss of tens of thousands of police staff and police community support officers. This has made it really difficult for police to tackle acquisitive crime, and within that category is burglary, car theft, and of course shoplifting. And offenders quite often are quite smart people, and they target places that they know that is going to be low risk and have good rewards. And it certainly seems like theft has almost been decriminalised.
And yet we've heard from a store manager in Leeds who said his staff have been threatened with violence, needles, knives. He said it's nearly on a daily basis, for goodness sake.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not a pretty picture out there in convenience stores, in supermarkets. We're also seeing, as well as the rise in theft, it goes hand in hand with violence and aggression. Thieves don't want to get caught. They don't want to be apprehended. And so if they feel that they may be detained in any way, then very quickly they resort to violence. But just going back to that thought as well about this being very low risk, some offenders now are almost taunting shoplifters, saying, what are you going to do? Call the police. They're not going to turn up. And a lot of offenders now not even trying to disguise their identity, not taking really many steps to hide what they're doing. And that's a really clear signal that they think that they've essentially got a license to steal now.
And the workers and the security staff working in the shops, is it too much risk for them to intervene?
Yeah, I think, at times it's really important. So shop theft is the number one trigger for a violent assault against a shop worker. So although the union have a Freedom from Fear campaign, and they've been documenting this for over 20 years now. And so they know that's the number one trigger. The second one is around the sale of restricted items such as alcohol, tobacco, etc. So we know that the chances are, if you try and intervene, if you try and stop somebody who's determined to steal, who might be under the influence or having taken drugs, it's a really volatile situation. So some security officers might feel well-equipped and well-trained enough to be able to read the situation and intervene when appropriate. But what the co-op data showed, that if a offender was detained by a security officer, so they might be physically restraining somebody, waiting for the police were simply not turning up. Now, that's a real problem, because that's a really violent or potentially very violent situation, and a lot of these individuals carry weapons.
Lord Rose, the former Marks and Spencer's boss, was saying just that. He's now the chairman of Asda. He said 40 years ago, when he was a manager at Marks and Spencer's, the police would turn up. Now he says they don't even answer the phone.
It can take a really long time to actually report a crime. So even calling 999, if, unfortunately any of the listeners have had to do that in recent times, it can take a long time for that call to be picked up and then actioned, even longer if you're using the 101 number, or if you're using online reporting. And so sometimes by the time the police have arrived, the offender's gone, the incident has passed. Even sometimes for armed robbery, that can be the case. So, there's sympathy with the police. They have been under-resourced for such a long time, and they operate with what's known as a threat, risk and harm model. Now, unfortunately, when I think call handlers perhaps hear that an incident has taken place in a shop, they immediately think, oh, it's someone stealing a tin of beans or a loaf of bread. And we need to change the narrative on that, because actually we've got very serious offenders targeting stores, equipped with weapons, willing to use violence, and they're not stealing for their own, to put dinner on the table. They're stealing in bulk to sell on for profit or to fund a drug habit. So we need to just shift that narrative that actually there's a very real threat, risk and harm in a lot of these incidents.
And in 2016, where are we, 8 years ago, you coined the term swipers, didn't you? Seemingly well-intentioned patrons engaging in regular shoplifting. What's that, middle-class shoplifters?
Yeah, so, swipers are those individuals that would not... So the report that I've published is about prolific career criminals. Swipers are a different kettle of fish. They're individuals who wouldn't steal, in the aisles and not putting things in their, down their pants, up their sleeves, in wheelie bins is what we're seeing sometimes now with prolific offenders. These offenders steal at self-service checkouts, and they think the action of stealing when using these machines is it's not really a crime. You're almost cheating the system. It's a bit of a game, and there's all sorts of excuses that swipers use that, someone used to get paid to do this, or I've not been trained to do it, so of course I'm going to make mistakes. But these individuals mostly pay for the majority of their shopping, but as soon as they see an opportunity to steal, they will give themselves that... They'll take that opportunity and then try and convince themselves that it was still a morally okay thing to do.
My goodness. Emmeline, thanks very much indeed for talking to me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's Professor Emmeline Taylor, 08085 909 693. Maybe you've witnessed shoplifting in your local area. Farrah, you're still with me. Now, when you were 13... you were addicted to shoplifting. How did you get to that stage?
I'm not too sure exactly how it progressed, but it started because I was getting bullied at school, and I had some holes in my school trousers. Obviously, I come from a large family, and it was just not the right time for my mum to buy the school trousers. She said she'll buy them, but obviously on next payday sort of thing. And I was just getting sick of getting teased about it. So I went into one of the stores, and I changed my school trousers, and I put the old ones on the peg and left them there. And then when I realised how easy it was and no consequences, and nothing was done with the CCTV or anything like that, I started taking other things like makeup, but other clothes, shoes and stuff like that. And then when the older generation, the 19, 20-year-olds, got wind that I was stealing as well, they started then, can you go into this shop and get me this? Can you do this? And I started hanging around with them. And then I started stealing like bigger things like alcohol and baby clothes and stuff like that. Now, I never actually sold any items. I was just stealing it to hang around with the older lots to impress them, if you like. And that's how and then it just became habit. So that's how it started. And then it just became habit because 9 out of 10 times I was getting away with the incidents. And that's absolutely shocking. And that was one of the reasons that I started Catch a Thief, because I thought, well, what would have stopped me, and why is nothing done with the CCTV? Like, the stores that I was going into, they had the CCTV there. They were making the reports, but nothing was done, and this was back in 2007, 2008. So even back then, we seen a lack of... there was just a complete lack of consequences for it. And that's really what baffled me.
Tom's called us from Chester tonight. Hello, Tom.
Evening, Stephen.
Go ahead, Tom. Thanks for calling us.
Right, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. One of the biggest problems that anybody in retail has is that the shoplifter has to actually go past the point of sale before you can do anything to stop them. So if it's by your front door or the tills are in store, you can't do anything. And also with CCTV, obviously you've got to wait until people have gone past the point of sale and then bring them back into the store. The CCTV is only good if it shows every single second the customer or shoplifter has been in your store, because they could have dropped it somewhere.
Yeah.
Ah. So you clearly run a shop yourself then, do you?
Well, yeah, it's always been a very difficult situation. I've been in supermarkets and I've got my own convenience store. You really can't. I think some people think that we watch shoplifters put something in their pocket and you can grab them or stop them or anything. You can't. You've got to wait until they've the last point of contact with you to pay for something.
So that is correct. So you have to wait for them to get past the tills and usually out of the door. But as long as they've gone past the tills, then you know that they have no intention of paying for that good. So you can stop them there, and you can apprehend a shoplifter for 2 hours. Now we wouldn't recommend that at all, because obviously it can turn into potential violence and that. But the law is on our side with that side of things. And that is a high tactic that Tom's just mentioned there as well, because when I was younger, some security guards would know me. So I would go in the store, I'd pick up some stuff, and while someone else was stole, I would put the item back down on the shelf. And then the security guard would be watching me and stopping me instead. So that is a high tactic used as well, which should be looked out for.
And though, Tom, when you need the police, they do come, don't they?
Yeah. Eventually, yes. It's. I don't see it as they're not going to turn up, but I should imagine in the town centre it's slightly different. You know, we're slightly rural where I am, but town centre would be different. But again, when I worked for a supermarket, the police would be there within minutes. There is. I was in a supermarket environment 25 years ago, and there was things called box trolleys where people had walked round and put cornflake boxes all the way around the large supermarket trolleys and steal everything they possibly could. There was all sorts of things going on.
Right. Tom, unfortunately, we could talk about this all night, couldn't we? But thank you, sir, for calling us tonight. Farrah, thank you as well. The Midnight News is coming up right now on 5 Live.